Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
Fatherhood is sacred. Sacred means holy, H-O-L-Y, or extremely important. That's our topic today. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Join my VIP program. A lot of people joining right now, which is great. So join the club. effortlessenglishclub.com is my website. And you speak English fluently. You speak powerfully. You speak English effortlessly when you join at effortlessenglishclub.com. All right, today we're going to read and discuss another short section from our book club, our new book club. The book we are learning or studying is called The Corporate Cult, C-U-L-T, by Rich Zubaty. Rich Zubaty, The Corporate Cult. And this is from the introduction. The introduction is actually very long, so we're just going to do one section. And this section is mostly focused on the topic of fatherhood, or topics, because it's actually a combination of two topics, fatherhood and education. So in this section, Mr. Zubaty talks about why fathers are so important. One of the reasons, I should say, not all the reasons, but one reason that fathers are so important. And he specifically talks about education. And he also discusses a bit of how fathers and fatherhood are constantly attacked by the corporate power, not only the media, but in general, the courts, everything, where fathers are constantly under attack, right? And he's right, of course, about that as well. All right, let's get to it. We'll go through. I'll read a bit and explain what he's saying, and then we can discuss what he's saying. We can discuss the ideas of what he's saying. Okay? All right. Change my cameras here. Here we go. Okay, so again, this is the book, The Corporate Cult. And here we go. He says, a father naturally believes he should be able to pass on some of his knowledge and values to his kids. So this is the heart of the topic that we're talking about. I'll come back and explain it better. But this very natural assumption is thwarted by modern culture. Okay, so this is it. This is the main idea right here. Okay, so a father believes, he should be able to pass on. It means give, right? Give some of his knowledge and values to his kids. This is the key point. Of course, mothers believe this too, but he's specifically talking about fathers. Okay? To pass on the knowledge, so, what you've learned, and your values, right? What's good, what's bad, what's important, what's not important, to your kids, to his kids, talking about fathers. Right? And I think every father out there knows this, right? Probably every parent knows this. Right, that you want your kids to learn, from your life experience, and especially to learn your values. What is good? What is bad? What is important? What's not important? Right? This is the natural way. But here's the second part, the problem. This natural assumption means this natural idea is thwarted. Thwarted means blocked or stopped. So this is blocked or stopped by modern culture. This is the key. This gets to the heart of all you guys. And I think we'll probably discuss this, especially really as this is really for all parents, because this is also true for mothers. he's a man, so he's writing as a father, and he's also writing specifically of how men and fathers in general are attacked even more than mothers, right? Mothers are often celebrated in the modern culture and media. Fathers almost never. Fathers are usually shown to be negative, bad, right? This kind of propaganda and brainwashing, specifically attacking especially fathers, parents in general, but fathers even more. It's planned. It's not an accident. Okay, so modern culture, modern movies, modern television, modern schools, modern business, everything. The modern economic system, all of it blocks and stops fathers and mothers from giving their values to their children. I'm seeing this now even in my own family, not my kids, but in some other family members, and are struggling with this problem. What happens? What you see in the United States, I think this is common in many countries now, where you will see this break between kids and their families, usually in the teenage years. Classically, typically, you'll see this in the teenage years, where people think that this is just normal and natural now, because this has been happening now for, probably since my parents' generation, right? Really since mass media, television. The television is what really did it. Television, rock and roll, they call it the generation gap. Well, that wasn't such a big thing in the past, but now it's a gigantic problem. And so what you see is that these kids will just suddenly stop respecting their parents, right? They become teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old, and suddenly they reject their parents' values. They reject their parents' religion. They reject their parents' teaching, right? And they think, oh, my parents are a bunch of, are idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. Oh, they're just, they're just trying to stop me from being free. Where does this come from? Why does this happen? People just think this is like hormones or something biological, and it's not. It's not. Absolutely, it's not. Of course, biologically, at that age, of course, they're becoming independent, right? Because they're almost adults. Yes, but the rejecting of all the values and everything, that is why. Where are they getting it from? They're getting it from school. They're getting it from all their other friends, and they're getting it from the media. And suddenly they become, they've been brainwashed. It's actually not so suddenly, because parents send their kids off to school where they are brainwashed for, 12 years, 16 years. And then they're surprised when the kids have different values. Well, you sent your kids to be brainwashed, and they do get brainwashed. All right, next section. It says, the school system will decide what constitutes education, what the kids need to learn. Okay, so this is the next part of the problem. If you send your kids to school, which most people do, sadly, well, who decides what's important? Who decides the values? Who decides what is important to learn and what's not important to learn? The school system decides it. Not the father, not the mother. Big problem. And this is why they get brainwashed. And he calls it, this is kidnapping. It's institutional kidnapping. Right? Like he's saying that schools are kidnapping the kids. Well, no, they're not kidnapping in most countries, because guess what? The parents are sending them. You don't have to. You can homeschool. So I disagree with him here. He's American, so he's definitely wrong, because in America, absolutely you can homeschool. So, he's not taking responsibility that he sent his kids off to school. And his ex-wife. But on the other hand, what he is saying is that this is how people are brainwashed. People think this is normal. People think, oh yeah, this is what you do. You send your kids off to school, right? And the idea is that fathers just pay the bills. I'm reading now from his book. Fathers just pay the bills and hand their kids' bodies and minds to the corporate and government schools. right? So he's saying the fathers are not really teaching their kids. They're going to work and they're paying the bills, they're paying for their food, they're paying the rent, but then they just give the kids to the schools to brainwash and to teach. The fathers are the ones who are supposed to be doing this, and of course the mothers too. And then he talks about why, and this is the key point, the purpose of schools, the purpose of all this media garbage, this garbage media culture we have, this garbage pop culture, garbage movies, garbage TV, garbage music. It's all crap. Why? And here's why they do it. There's an effort to interrupt the transmission of knowledge from one generation to the next. This is the key to make people forget. See what happens when someone lives a long life, they have a chance, maybe, not everybody does it, but a lot of people, from if you live to be 50 years old, 60 years old, well, you have a lot of life experiences, so you can maybe break free from some of the programming. And when the media lies, the government lies, the companies lie, well, they're lying from experience. Well, they don't want you to teach that to your kids, right? They want the kids to start from zero and to just believe everything they're told. So this is why they don't want them learning from... I got something in my hair. We made cookies today. I got cookie dough in my hair. They want the kids to learn from the schools and the media just to be programmed, right? So then they can always have something new, right? That's why they don't want kids listening to Beethoven, right? It's too traditional. There's a connection there to the past. No, it's just some new garbage pop star with horrible music, right? And then the next generation will listen to different garbage pop stars with probably even worse music. Okay? So the point is to disconnect, to break the connection between generations. So then they're easy to program. It's easy to program a teenager. They don't know anything. Most of them have no idea about the world or life. So they'll believe anything. If you just repeat it enough and make it cool and use the right techniques, they will easily be programmed. Now, sadly, the truth is, this is also true for adults. We saw this with the virus nonsense. Still see it, that people still believe anything, no matter how old they are. But in terms of people waking up and being more awake, it's probably, there's a better chance that an older person might wake up. Just because if they're not totally brainwashed by the media, then they have a chance because of their life experience to be more awake, to see more truth. Whereas the kids have no chance if they just go off to school and just watch movies and TV all the time and listen to music. And then in the next section, he says, Dad is the only guy who will talk to the kids about real life education, real life truth, right? About corruption in the media, for all the things I'm talking about right now, right? He's saying moms don't usually talk to their kids about that kind of stuff. And I think here he is right. It's usually going to be the dads who are going to say, don't trust the media. It's all lies. And, the school system's garbage and the culture's crap. And, this is why. Even moms who know this, I don't know, just women think differently and they tend to focus more on, taking care of the kids, which is fine. But that's their role and that's what they're good at. But he's saying that dads are typically the ones who would teach the kids kind of the tougher truths about life, right? And finally, he ends with a criticism of schools. I'm going to end this section here. He says, school has always been guilty of the crime of omission. And this is a very good point. This is also true of the media, any media, news or whatever. Omission means to leave out, means to not talk about it. So he's saying that, there's two kinds of lying that happens in schools. One, they teach things that are not true. They tell you things that are lies. But the other thing is they hide the truth. They don't talk about it. So both of these are very, very important. On one hand, yes, they're teaching lies, so they're teaching a bunch of stuff that's not good. That's bad. But it's also very bad that they ignore and they hide the real truth. So people aren't aware of it. People don't know about it. And so people ignore it or don't believe it if they hear it somewhere else. So he's saying school is just a method of brainwashing for whoever can print the textbooks and train the teachers. He's right. These days, that power is held by corporations, giant companies, right? And also governments. They work together. Giant corporations and the governments working together. And then he finally ends with a point about religion. Nowadays, God is inadmissible evidence in the classroom. What he's saying is that, like in American schools, they can't talk about God. They're not allowed to pray, right? They're anti-religious. Anti-religious. They're at war with religion. They're attacking religion. And men and lots of other stuff too. Okay? And he says the value systems proposed by all religions, so all major religions, like the Abrahamic religions and the Dharma religions, are in conflict with corporate consumerism. And this will be our last point. So corporate consumerism means just to buy, like materialism, right? This idea of just buy, money, look cool, buy clothes, sex, clothes, all this kind of stuff. That's what's important in life. That's the message of schools, right? Money, jobs, that kind of thing. And it's the message of companies for sure. It's the message of the media. And of course, he's right, of all these religions. So the Abrahamic religions, like, Christianity, Islam, Sanatana Dharma, Buddhism on the Dharma side, Taoism, they're against that. They all teach that chasing sex and money and things is really pointless in the end, right? And that we can lead you to actually to evil and to terrible things if you follow it too much. And of course they're right. All the religions are right. So the schools are against religions. They have been at war with religions for a long time, and the media too. You'll notice this. Any movies or TV from the so-called West, Europe and America, almost always going to show religions and religious people as being terrible and crazy and bad. It's a form, this is their propaganda. This is what they're trying to do. They're anti-Christian. They're anti-Muslim. They're anti-Sanatana Dharma, right? All right, so that's it. That's the section. That's enough. This guy, as I said before, last time we talked about him in this book, he jumps around a lot. His topics jump around. He's just kind of following his thoughts. And his writing is very emotional and passionate, but not super organized. So I have to just choose sections that have, the same topic, and that's what I did today. So this topic of, I've talked about homeschooling and education a lot before, but what I found interesting in this was, him talking about the specific role, in his opinion, of fathers in education, home education, right? So we have, sort of mothers and fathers. So the idea maybe that the mothers are teaching kind of the typical academic stuff, but that the fathers need to be teaching them the really kind of deeper truths, the values, right? And mothers do this too. This is where I would say it's really both the parents and, ideally both parents will discuss this. But I would say, like certainly in my family with my wife, I'm the one who'll be teaching this kind of stuff, right? My wife, she knows about this stuff, but just not as passionate and interested in it, and is less likely to probably teach my kids about it. So I'll be the one definitely doing this. Fathers are very important. Mothers are very important. We all know mothers are important. I think we hear that in the media a lot, and I do agree that fathers get also a lot of bad propaganda, against fathers, or fathers get ignored. You'll see it on TV in America a lot, where it's always like the mom is super clever and the dad's an idiot. This is programming. It's a lie, and it's programming, right? To get this idea in people's head. They don't want the kids to respect their fathers, and eventually they don't want them to respect their mothers either. So, all right, here we go. Let's get into our questions and comments. Now it's your turn to give your thoughts, those of you watching live. Cool. Daily English with Trong says, I'm Vietnamese, currently working as an English teacher, teaching your method. Thank you so much. Awesome. Yeah, Anna, good to see you as always. Anna always has lots of intelligent things to say. She says, Anna Grigoreva says, my mother can't do all these things. I'm so happy my father taught me these precious things. He taught me to play the guitar. He taught me singing. I'm really into the guitar now. Father is extremely important in life. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. This is exactly right. Fathers have their strong points and mothers have their strong points, and they're both very important, and they will both, the kids need both. Absolutely. And she said, and my father always listened to music, but not the modern garbage. Yeah, exactly. I feel music is much like books, that the older it is, the better it tends to be. And that even includes things like, I'm not just talking about great classical music like Beethoven or something, but even just old folk songs, little simple songs, or old children's songs that are old and have a long tradition. I think those are much better, meaning more positive, more of a real meaning than the garbage in the media now. Excuse me. And that's true even for music that I used to like, that I listened to when I was a teenager, and now I listen to it again, or look at it again, and I see that it was just programming and not positive at all. Okay. Purple Orchard says, I love your book club, Animal Farm, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and so on. Great. Oh, someone said, the sound is so loud. Oh, okay. Now, Vladislav does make the point. In some countries, schools are mandatory. This is true. And this is where it really is kidnapping. Like Zubaty says, they're kidnapping the children. And this is where you have to think about breaking the law. Let's see. I'm ready for learning English. In China, even if you're 35, search a new job, you have work experience, you still will be asked about your education. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Chinese system. Obviously not a very free place for education. If this is true, I don't really know, quite honestly. But, you got to find your own way. And the solution may be, in terms of, companies looking for this, is you're going to have to start your own businesses. So if you homeschool your kids, you may also want to, if you live in a country like that, then you may also want to teach them about how to be entrepreneurs and really teach them about money. Robert Kiyosaki has some good stuff about teaching kids about money and being business people. Uzmanov Dilmarad, also good to see you as always. One of the worst things schools do is separate religion from education. Yes. In the past, children learned their religion and then they learned other subjects. Yes, right, because modern school, especially, school in general, but modern school especially, is at war with religion. It is anti-religious. Doesn't matter which religion yours is. They're anti-religion, anti-God, anti-truth, anti-goodness, and anti-beauty. That's what schools are, and that's what the media is. So, yeah. Oh, and Anna says that her father also taught me swimming, running, taking care of bees. Cool. Even shooting. My mother can't do all these things. Right, exactly. And I'm sure you have a nice list from your mother, too, of what she taught you. Right? Ideally, that's what we want. If we want to have good families, that's what we want. Obviously, some families have other problems and, things happen. But the best situation is when you have two parents educating their kids, their own kids. I'm just looking at this. All right, I'll take a couple more comments or questions. Cool. I don't know. Aksa says, my father always teaches me. He tells me, he always tells me about wrong things, like what's wrong. He is my best friend. That's awesome. That's great to read. Really is nice. And I think if any father, that's what you would hope, right? You certainly hope that your children will feel that way about you and have that love and respect, just as you do for them. Meran Marandi says, school prepares children for a lifestyle which no longer exists. This is another problem. This is just a very, very practical level that it also is not useful. It's not good. It doesn't even accomplish what it's supposed to. It's good if you want to live in 1940. Yeah, I'm not even sure about that, honestly, but I think people in 1940 were much smarter and much better educated than our people than now. Our schools now are anti-education too. They make people stupider. This is what John Taylor Gatto said. In his book title was "Dumbing Us Down." It means making people more stupid, and that's another purpose of modern education, modern schools, I should say, not really education, modern schools, is to make people stupider, less able to think for themselves, more likely to believe anything the TV tells them. GMHRM says, fathers are always our role model in life. Very nice. And then Gustavo Biel says, I'm trying to teach my 3-year-old good values, just as my parents did. Right, exactly. So this is the thing, right? You're passing on generation to generation. And this is where that wisdom comes from, because even in your own life, however old you are, maybe you're 40, and so you have the wisdom of 40 years of experience. But then, hopefully, you also have the wisdom that your father and mother taught you, and the wisdom their fathers and mothers taught them, and the wisdom that their fathers and mothers, right, going back generations, right? This is where we get these great traditions and heritage. What is it? It's the wisdom of many, many, many generations. When that is broken, when the kids are just sent off to school and the fathers and mothers don't pass that on, so much is lost. We get these lost, broken people that we see everywhere. They're just mindlessly looking at their phones, living inside the television, living inside their phone, just believing everything, zombies. Not fully human in my mind. That's most people now, unfortunately. Cool. There's a comment. It's in Arabic, so I can't read the name, but it says, my mother taught me what is love. Very nice. My father taught me how to be an effective person in society. Excellent. Fayos Nimotov says, many fathers, and this is exactly what he's saying, what the writer said. He's agreeing. He says, many fathers are not careful about their children's education. They're mostly just financial providers, right? Just providing money, rather than a good father and educator. They should spend more time and give more talks. Yes, and I'll just be honest. Yeah, this was a problem with my father. He didn't teach me. He didn't talk to me about stuff. He didn't educate me. He went to work and he We had a nice house, we lived in, and financially everything was fine, but he really didn't take that time to do it. That's right. So I'd figure all this stuff out by myself. Luckily, I like to read. So this is 100% true. Fathers, I think especially fathers, it's very traditionally their job to protect. And one thing you must protect your children from is the brainwashing, the culture, the lies, the evil out there, right? So, yeah, just sending your kids off to any old school, that's not protecting your kids. And it is your job as a father. Education is a very important part of your job as a father, to educate your kids, not just send it off to somebody else to do it. You need to be teaching them. You need to be teaching them every day. Every day. Right? And teaching them values, especially. If you want them to grow up to be good people, you have to teach them to be good people. Not just polite, not just say please, thank you, but good at a deeper level. If you want them to have, a deep religious, to follow a deep religious tradition, to explore truth, goodness, and to understand the evil out there in the world, of which there's a lot, you have to teach them all this. You don't let them just figure it out themselves. That's a painful way to learn it. They're still going to encounter this in the world, of course, but you can prepare them and help them, and you should as a father, 100%. Vladislav says, long ago in a video I watched, they explained that over the last 150 years, our lives have changed so much. We used to ride horses. Now we drive cars. We used to have telegraphs. Now we have mobile phones. But schools have stayed the same. Yeah. Arun Kumar says, have you read the book The Rape of the Mind by Just Mirlu? It's a red-pilled book. Can you do it in the next book club? I like the title. I'll check it out. Yeah, son, this is a very important point. Anna Grigoreva, again, says, my classmate, so someone she knows, was brought up by his mother. So it's a guy, a boy. His father left them when he was a little boy. His mother was taking care of him in a soft way. He became a very girl boy. We say girly boy. No strengths, no man behavior. And indeed, this is so common, right? Mama boys. You can also call them like mama's boys. This is why fathers are so important. And fathers are important for girls too, and for different reasons, right? And mothers are important too. They're both important. But I've seen this so many times, like guys with daddy issues. We say in English, daddy issues, right? They either the dad wasn't there, or he wasn't there a lot, or they had some bad relationship with their dad, and they have all this anger about their dad. And yeah, you get these men, older boys, really, and they're very girly. I was pretty girly as a teenager, and even into my 20s. I had this issue. Now, I had a dad. He's not girly at all. but he just wasn't around. Like I said, he didn't teach me these things. He was just always working. And I love my dad. I have a good relationship with him now. So I'm not criticizing him or attacking him or blaming him, but it's just the truth. So my mom had a big influence over me. And so, yeah, I had long hair. I thought I was cool, like a rock star, but it was just girly. I was skinny. I had no muscles. I just wasn't tough. I had no toughness, no strength, nothing. So I'm not criticizing anyone out there like that, because I used to be like that. But it's not healthy for a man to be like that. You're not a man yet. You're still a boy, right? Mama's boys are still boys. They never become men. And that's sad. It's sad. It's pathetic, right? It makes you just an endless little slave, an endless little complainer. And, guys like that always have trouble with women, because women aren't attracted to that. Women are not attracted to girly boys. Wake up. They're not attracted to mama's boys. Sorry. So if you are a mama's boy or a girly boy, don't deny it. If you are, you are. That's, whatever. But you can change it. Start lifting weights. Do it like a hard, tough martial art like kickboxing or jiu-jitsu or MMA, and toughen yourself up and toughen yourself mentally. And you can learn things even if you didn't have like a father there to teach you. Well, then you have to learn it yourself. You can do it. You can do it. It's hard, but you can do it. And if you're a father, you need to teach these things to your kids, and especially your sons. It doesn't mean you got to be like a jerk to your son. I'm super sweet to my son. I'm so affectionate with him and kiss him and hug him all the time. But I'm also going to teach him how to fight. I'm going to teach him these other things too, important things for men to do as he grows up. Depends on their age, right? So it absolutely is important, and we do need fathers for that. This is an interesting question. Ed Joliet says, Teacher, now that Elon Musk owns Twitter and supports free speech, will you come back? They just unbanned me. So yeah, maybe I will. I was banned on Twitter. They blocked me. They banned me. I said something mean about the old Twitter CEO, and they blocked my account. I couldn't use it. But I just went back and checked it, and it's opened again. So maybe I'll post some stuff on Twitter. At the very least, I'll post when I'm doing a new show like this. I'll put it on Twitter also. We'll see how Elon Musk does. Hopefully, he can't do worse. He's certainly going to be better. I don't know how free it'll be, but probably not as good as Gab. I'll be sticking with Gab. I trust Gab completely. They've proved themselves for a long time. So I trust Gab. I'm staying on Gab. But I'll do maybe a little bit on Twitter. Okay, Arun Kumar says, my girlfriend left me because I'm red-pilled. Well, it's probably good she left you. How to find one who understands about this crazy world. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So she was probably not a good one to have. So you just get out there, and you got to go and find, if you're looking for more girls who understand more about this traditional and heritage, you'll probably be looking for a girl who's more religious. That would be a good start. And you're not going to meet them in bars and clubs. Okay, put it that way. Yeah, this is a good point. Uzmanov says, children copy their fathers. For example, if the father insults his wife in front of his kids, the children will remember the words and say it outside the home. Oh, they copy everything. I'm having to be very careful with my kids now because they hear everything I say now. And right now, my daughter's more advanced with speaking. And yes, I hear my words come back to me many times. Some things I say that I know I shouldn't say. So I'm like, oh, no. Nothing terrible, but just, like I'll cuss. I'll say, fuck, shit, Good point. Yeah, Files Nemotov has a very good point. My grandfather says that you realize the hardship of being a father only when you become one. Until that time, we mostly blame them. This is true, and we do it to our mothers too. Yes, you really don't understand being a parent until you become a parent, right? So it's easy when like teenagers, mom and dad, you don't know anything, and and then you become a parent and you realize, oh yeah, this is hard. But it's awesome. It's great. You should do it. But yeah, don't expect your kids to understand the difficulty of being a parent. They're not going to understand that until they get older and then become a parent themselves. That's fine. I was the same as a kid, right? You were probably the same. It's the way of life. Baba Usman, welcome from Nigeria. Meemeko says, top greetings from Cyprus. Hello to you. Duryodhan Suradkar says, hi, this is Suradkar from India. You're doing a marvelous job to make us learn great languages in favor of society's wellness. Yeah, I try to do English and talk in English, but have some interesting topics, not just the same boring grammar stuff. Amina with a nice point. We should take care of our parents when they become old. because they took care of us when we were children. I agree. I agree. And then as a parent, you hope your kids will help take care of you. How do you do that? Well, you take care of them when they're kids, right? Try to be a great parent, and they're more likely to take care of you when you get old. But yes, we should take care of our. And the other thing you do is you show them by taking care of your own parents, right? That's right. Yeah, and with another great comment, I once heard that your children must get both their father's and their mother's love. Then they get all the necessary stuff, softness, and these kind of things from the mother and from fathers as well. Yeah, they get both. It's very, very healthy. Yeah, Arun says every father should remember the son will that this one day his son will follow his example, not his advice. This is such a great comment. And this is the pressure. I feel this pressure constantly, and daughters too, by the way. This is the pressure I feel like every time I do something foolish or stupid or lose my patience, which I just did this week, for example, with my kids. And then afterwards, it's just like, I feel terrible. And because I know it doesn't matter what I say so much. Like 80% is what you do and what you show them. And maybe what you say is only 20%, maybe less. So you get this amazing pressure, if you really care and love your kids, to be a better person. It's an intense pressure. It's a positive pressure, but it is very strong. Uzmanov says, again, children live with their parents, even if they're adults in my country. Is it good or bad? What do you think? Yeah, now if you ask a typical American about this, they'll say, oh, that's crazy. But I think my mind about that is different because I think it's fine. I think there are many good things about it because in America, this is, again, I think very bad that where it's this idea that, a kid becomes 17 or 18 and then they just like break from their families. And maybe they go far away and then they almost never see each other. And maybe for the rest of their lives, they're talking on the phone, but they really don't have much connection. It's sad. So again, the connection between generations is broken or weaker, much weaker. Now, this is not the old tradition of America. It's not even American culture. Because my grandparents' generation, it was like what Uzmanov's describing. It was the same in America. That when the kids became adults, maybe they lived in the same house or they lived at least in like right near each other, right? Like right next door or in the same small town, right? They didn't go far away. So the connection between the families and generations stayed strong and close, even when the kids became adults. And then, of course, the grandkids would come. And so then you would have these 3 generations living in the same house together was very common. Or living very, very close together, very close by, just, 5 minutes walk away or something. And you could have 3 and possibly even 4 generations, great-grandparents even, all living right near each other or possibly, in the same house or the same land at least. So you had these very strong families and this very strong connection between the generations. Very, 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 very positive and healthy and wonderful. And of course, they all could take care of each other. Now, what do we have? We have all these lonely people, isolated, right? So the kids go off to college or some other town when they're 18, and they're off alone, and they've lost maybe some of their connection. They've been brainwashed against their parents. So they go to college and they do all kinds of really terrible things. They get involved in drugs, alcohol. Very common in America where at college people become alcoholics. I saw it in college because I did that. I went off to college, to a big university. And so many of the kids just would, 18-year-old kids, they just became alcoholics. They just would drink. And a large number of them dropped out of school. Lots of other drugs, sex, just all kinds of things where they really go down a bad path that many of them follow the rest of their lives. So staying in the family, I think it's good. Now, I do understand, maybe there may be some problems there, right? Where you feel like, I want to be more independent and my parents are here and I'm 18. So it depends on how the communication is and all that. But overall, I think it's probably generally positive. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Fayo says, cultural integration is important. When I went to Turkey, I saw the relationships of fathers and children and learned many good things from them, from their culture. Yeah, you can, exactly. Because now in some of our countries, my country, America, and many others, the old traditions have been destroyed. So like I said, what Usmanov described is actually also American tradition, but it's just been destroyed now. So sometimes we can look to other countries where they still have the old traditions. Because many of these old traditions are very similar in different countries around the world because they're human. They're human and they're good. So that's why you'll see them in most or all cultures, at least in the past. So exactly, you can sometimes, like I see good things here in Japan that have died in America now, but the Japanese still have. It's very good. One thing I like about Japan and the Japanese. Like I saw, you're kind of talking about fathers and sons, and I saw this YouTube video last night about Khabib, the MMA fighter. Some of you might know him. And how this great relationship he had with his father. His father was his trainer, and this very strong and positive relationship he had with his father. And I say had because his father died, but his father was very, very important to him. Yeah, Miro says, actually, this fatherhood pressure pushes you to continue to do great stuff in your life and to be a good example for your children. It's two birds with one stone. Correct idiom. It is the correct idiom. Yes. Good point. It is positive, right? It pushes me not to just be a lazy old dude. Right? It's one reason I keep doing jujitsu and keep doing this. I don't need to work, but I keep doing it. And I'm more religious now, much more, and just many things. And the thing is, I'm more aware of my bad points, my faults, much more aware of them now. Since my kids came, like I'm super aware of. They're painful to me now. I see them, I'm just like, God, I'm not a patient person. For example, I lose my patience a lot. And I'm fighting with it, and it's hard to break. I'm 54 years old. It's some bad habits I have. But you're right. It's a very positive pressure. It pushes you to be, whatever age you are, to not just give up and to actually keep trying to make yourself a better example for your kids. Anna says, I want to homeschool my children. Oh, great. Awesome. Please do it. Yeah, Fu Win says, my dad doesn't show his emotions, maybe love or caring, to the kids. And many men are like this. But I know he loves the children a lot. And that's what's important. All dads usually show less love than the moms. I wouldn't say all dads, but I would say it's probably common that men can be less emotional. I'm different in this way. Very affectionate with my kids. But this is also cultural, very cultural, because you will see in different cultures, like in certain of the Mediterranean cultures, Italy, Spain, through Latin America, the men might hug, kiss, much more physical with their sons, with each other, and then in other cultures, maybe like German, like just to use a stereotype, and even Japanese, the men are they don't do that, right? So they're more they're much less emotionally open. So it depends on culture too. But the important thing is, yes, they show their love in other ways. As long as you know that they love you and you feel it, and they're still great. Mahari has a joke. Says, in Madagascar we have a saying: if you love your family, don't visit them too much, more often. All right. Okay, let's see. Oh, just got a muscle cramp in my leg. Ow, ow, ow. In Algeria, we live with our parents even when they grow up and get married, so we still live with their families. It's a part of Islam. But American influence is a lot about our societies. Yeah, America, those who control America, see, they destroyed our culture first. Okay, you have to understand what you see now in the world as American culture is not. Okay, this corporate culture, this anti-family, all the terrible stuff with kids, the anti-religion, all that garbage. I mean, yes, the American empire now is pushing it everywhere, but that's not American culture. That's not traditional American culture at all. They destroyed our culture first and created this monster, this evil, and now they're using America to try to push this evil everywhere in the world and destroy all of the cultures. It doesn't matter if it's Islam or Dharma or whatever. This is the kind of war we're seeing now, right? That is really getting quite aggressive. And Vladimir Putin I just saw a translated speech from him. He's been discussing this pretty directly. But you just have to understand, it's not, when I say traditional American culture, I'm talking about the culture of my grandparents and older. Okay, because by the time I was a kid, a lot of it was already being destroyed. The destruction really started quite aggressively after World War II, and especially with television. Television is what really did it. So then after my parents' generation, that traditional culture was, destroyed, and it's far worse now. Each generation now has gotten much, much worse. So resist it and fight it. I hope in Algeria you will resist it, and everywhere else. Hopefully, I do believe I don't believe the American empire and those who control it. I don't think they're going to win in the end. I don't know if they'll control America, but I don't think they'll win everywhere in the world. I think that's the good news. So keep fighting. Keep doing what's right. Fight for your culture. Fight for your own culture. Fight for your heritage. Fight for your religion. Fight for your families and truth and goodness and beauty. Keep fighting for that in any small way you can, and have hope, because there is great hope. Perla says, in Mexico, family is very important. Parents are very important. When children grow up, they continue looking after their parents, even though they have their own house. Right. So this is, again, this is what it was probably. This is probably closer to the older American culture, where the kids when the kids became adults, they would usually probably move out of the house, but maybe on the same land or right next door or very, very close, continuing to take care, seeing each other every day. You didn't have this separation of families where they're everywhere. The families break up immediately. So this is true. This is great. So it's good to hear this is true in Mexico still. Greetings from Colombia, says Daniel Rojas. Greetings to you. I think that, America and Western Europe are the worst. That's where the most damage and destruction has happened. So the good news is everywhere else it's better. But the bad news for you all is that everywhere else is under attack. I remember I've seen a difference. For example, I'll just pick one country, Thailand. I love Thailand. But I went to Thailand in 1997. And then the last time I went back was maybe 5 years ago. I saw a big change. All the kids are staring at their cell phones. The culture's changed. It's become more materialistic. It used to be much more focused on Buddhism, Dharma. It's less strong. It's still there. Buddhism and Dharma is still important. Religion's still important, but less that garbage American culture and world culture and pop culture, was much stronger. I could just see a difference. The younger people dressed in ways that were, just everything. You could tell it was getting more materialistic and less, and a lot of the traditions dying. That's Thailand, and that's true. And it's not just Thailand, right? It's everywhere. Everywhere this is happening, but hopefully it can be stopped and reversed. Uzmanov says, we are brainwashed by everything we watch and listen to or read. How do we brainwash ourselves, or how do we unbrainwash ourselves? It's a good question. So what do you read or watch? What do you read? Read old things. This is my number one most simple rule. The simplest rule. Read old things. There's more wisdom there. This is how we find the wisdom, the teachings of our ancestors, the truth. Right? Because we've had this broken, right? That's our topic today. So you read books that are at least 100 years old, 200 years old, 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old. That's what you do, right? The more you read, the older books you read, it will wake you up. It will help you wake up tremendously. What do you watch? There's almost nothing you can watch in terms of videos. Maybe a few podcasters or something, but I used to watch movies all the time. I never watch movies now because they're all They always have they always have these little terrible messages in them. Even if you think it seems like, oh, this should be a good movie, almost never. So you're better off reading older books. That's what I would say. Something says, when you meet older Japanese, do they hate you because of what the USA did to Japan? Nope. I have had only positive experiences with Japanese, and that includes older Japanese. Always really nice to me. Like, really never. Not one time I can't think of a time I've ever had a bad experience in Japan with somebody just being mean to me because they don't like foreigners or something. It's never happened to me. They're very, very polite, Japanese has a very polite, civilized culture. Put it that way. In the best way. Yeah, Zen Mozilla says, I live very far away from my family, but we talk every day. We're very connected, especially with my mom. It depends on how you're raised. I don't own a TV. I like your beliefs. Oh, that's a big one. Throw away your TV. This will help you so much. I've said this in other shows, but if you want, like, what's the first thing I could do to help myself and help my family would be throw away your TV, 100%. That's good advice. And yeah, my wife's like this. Now we live in Japan, so her family's close. But when we lived in America, she would talk to them every single day on video calls. Every day. And by family, I mean she talked to her parents every day, and she talked to both her sisters every day too. And they were texting all day with each other too. Very close connection. Very nice. Duryadan says, every father should have a relationship behavior with their children like a good friend. Indeed, and it changes, but ideally, this is what you hope for, especially as they become adults, right? Because, your role as a parent, if you're a parent, you know this already, but if you're not a parent, I'll explain it, that your role, like how you act, the kind of leader you are with your kids changes with their age, right? You have to be a different father at 8 when they're 3 than when they're 15. Seems obvious, but some people don't seem to get it, right? But it should be, right? When they're 3 years old, you're doing lots of playing. It's a very, very direct. Just don't do this, teaching them basic behavior. And then as they get older and older, you become more of an advisor. And then, of course, as they're an adult, you don't boss them around, right? You have to just be their advisor and more of a friend. All right. I think I'm going to, speaking of that, I need to go and play with my kids today. We're having our little Halloween party today. AJ, could you tell aloud some words for my father? He'll have a birthday the day after tomorrow. I'll tell your dad happy birthday. Sounds like he's a great father. I'm grateful for you for all you've done. I'll show him this video and translate. Yeah, wonderful. Well, you've said some really great, wonderful things about him. So it sounds like your father is just a wonderful father and a wonderful example. It's great we can learn from him and what you've told us about him. And we can all try to be that kind of dad. All right, so it was an interesting show, I hope. I will see you next time. As always, go to my website, effortlessenglishclub.com. See you again.